You ever afraid that you're going to be Tom Hanks in the money pit when you buy a house? Today, we're going to talk about 3 materials that were commonly used in construction here in Georgia that either had lawsuits on them or were recalled. What you want to look for before you put an offer in and waste money on an inspection. All right, let's get into this. If you like content like this, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, comment on this stuff. All of that helps the algorithm so that more people can find our helpful videos. If there's content that you want created or you have an opinion about something that we've said, we would love to hear from you. With that, let's get into this. Okay, so everybody has seen the movie The Money Pit. It's the most referred to movie in our industry when everybody's like, Jim, I don't want to buy The Money Pit. So I often say to clients, I'm like, well, this particular property, if you feel like it's The Money Pit, it's not like you're gonna wake up and Tom Hanks is gonna be in your house, because that might be a pleasant experience or a horrifying one, who knows? But the bottom line is, let's talk about what you should be looking for. Now, this has nothing to do with likes and desires and other things, and all of these issues can be tackled, repaired, and replaced. So it's not a reason to just throw the baby out with the bathwater, but it's something that you should pay attention to so that you don't pay top dollar for a piece of property, move into that property, and then realize you get stuck with a huge bill. So material number 1, Atlas Chalet shingles. Most commonly here in Georgia, when you move away from metal roofs, you're dealing with shingle roofs, asphalt shingles. And those shingles come in 2 different kinds. There's gonna be your 3-tab shingle, which you can easily identify. When you look up at the roof, it looks like bricks laid in a perfect row, and every other dash of the bricks is in line with itself. They're a certain size, and they're supposed to last between 20 and 25 years, depending on the manufacturer. They tend to last between 15 and 20 just because of the hot Georgia sun. The other type of shingles is what we call architectural shingles. When you look up, it looks bumpy as you cross it. So it's just like this, there's no uniform line to follow. You can't look up and follow a line. It would kind of go like that. And so those are 30-year shingles and are probably going to be among the better kind that you can choose from. And depending on what you do, there are certain ones that offer even greater warranties of 50 years and everything, but we're not gonna get into those. We're gonna stick with 3-tab and architectural. Atlas Chalet was a shingle that was directly in the middle. They were slightly larger than one, slightly smaller than the other, and what they looked like to the eye was they looked to be textured like an architectural shingle. However, they were in fact a 3-tab. All they did is take each one of the tabs and they put extra granules on it, oftentimes in a different color, creating a 3D effect to it. So when you look at it, you go, oh, that's a great roof. However, if you stared at it long enough, you would be able to see every other set of shingles that the shingle would end, they were in alignment with each other. The dash line would go up. These type of shingles, not only was there a lawsuit on it, they don't make them anymore. And since they're slightly smaller than one and slightly bigger than the other, you really can't find replacements for it. What happens to people is if you buy a house like this and it hasn't been addressed, it's possible that your insurance company will give you a quote, insure the house, you close on the house, they come out and inspect the house, realize that it's Atlas Chalet, and they'll make you exclude the roof, meaning you have no roof coverage for any leaks, or they'll cancel your policy altogether. Some will insure it, and this particular thing at the time of the recording, the company's changed. Some will, some won't, and that moves. So definitely check with your insurance provider before buying something with an Atlas Chalet or getting it addressed, perhaps by replacing the roof. Item number 2, polybutylene. This was what your plumbing was. How do you transfer water throughout the entire house? It was a gray flexible tubing, made it super easy to go around corners. And today they even have a similar product that has nothing to do with poly that they've gone back to because copper is so expensive and you have to take a torch and solder different ends together in order to have a sealed water system, where poly was extremely easy to install, somewhat easy to repair. However, the connector points in certain brands of poly even though all of it got dubbed as something you want to look at, ended up failing, and there were water leaks and people end up having to replumb entire houses. I've had several quotes on properties that ranged from $20,000 to $30,000 to replumb an entire poly house, unless it was in a crawl space and easily accessible. Then I've also seen some quotes closer to the $4,000 to $8,000 range, depending on the size of the house. So it could be a wide range of different things. But polybutylene, if it's disclosed that it is, this is something where you're going to, if you choose to make an offer, get a plumber out there to take a look at it, see if it's a bad situation. Now, this is not to be confused with what is currently called PEX, and there's PEX A and PEX B. You'll typically see PEX A is going to be a white clear tubing, semi-clear. Really, it's more of a, like a foggy clear, like you can't see straight through it, but let's just call it white. And then PEX B, which is going to be red for hot, blue for cold. Both of those are a flexible tubing, very similar, made very differently. Currently, that is the actual standard we see in new construction a lot today. Whether or not that type of piping in the future will end up with the same fate as polybutylene remains to be seen. But if you see PEX in a house, there is no current issues that we're aware of with PEX tubing, as long as it's installed properly by a licensed professional. Item number 3, LP siding, commonly known as Louisiana Pacific. Although that is a specific company that made a specific siding, there are some other, we'll refer to it as LP-like siding, and this was a type of siding that was meant to look like wood, and it was a composite of wood. Some people call it pressboard. I'm not sure that that's an accurate term, but there's a lot of glue involved in it, and this type of siding, as it was on the house, houses that were always kept well painted and sealed didn't have as many issues, but because people tend to wait to paint till they have to, rather than doing it as a preventative maintenance, going, well, the paint still looks good, let's paint it just to keep it looking good. They wait till it doesn't look good and then paint it. And what would happen is the bottoms of these boards, as they overlap with each other, water would hit this part that wasn't painted so well. The paint would be on the surface and not here. And what would happen is it would wick up there and they would swell and start to deteriorate. So houses that weren't well maintained, you could walk up and push your finger through that and it would basically disintegrate in your hands. Where other ones that were well maintained or used it or a similar type of product, still made of wood, would start to delaminate, and you could feel underneath the board where the lapping was, and it would feel like several layers of something going click, 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 as you rub your fingers across it, versus a solid piece of something. Hardy Plank, which is also a brand name in and of itself, but a concrete siding that looks like board, is what people replace that with. Most houses that have LP, and the LP is in good shape, or an LP-like product, the preventative go-to that they would do is replace any boards that were compromised with a Hardy Plank equivalent, something that looks with the same pattern as the existing board. Put those on there, kind of scatter around where they needed to be from boards that have been compromised. And then they take the bottom section about 3 foot up from any ground or surface area, and they replace all of that so that you don't get the moisture wicking effect as you go up. This type of siding, commonly when it first became an issue, people were asking for complete redos of the house. Some people have done that. Nowadays, most of the time, people are just replacing sections and going from there, and if it's well maintained, you can kind of just move that can down the road. What you'll typically see is the first place that receives rot usually is going to be a chimney. So if you go to a house and it looks like it's LP, go to the chimney. If the chimney's all Hardy Plank, then that tells you that they've already started the process of replacing certain boards on there. But this is something that you're going to want to be aware of, because whether you choose to buy it or not, you want to know what you're getting into and what your maintenance requirements are going to be, so that this is not a surprise to you. The 3 types of materials that people would prefer to see nowadays is going to be either a PEX or a copper plumbing situation, any type of architectural 30-year shingle made by any company, for the shingles, and some type of Hardy Plank siding is what's most commonly desired. Obviously, a brick siding is also a great alternative. I don't recommend you take off LP and then brick a house. It's not really cost effective, but that is a possibility for you. Some people do prefer vinyl siding because it's easy to pressure wash and clean. Other people feel like it fades over time. It's not what people are looking for. people are generally looking for the hardy plank siding or a brick or stone or a combination thereof to make up what you see in new construction today. So those are your three materials that you're going to want to look for roofs: Atlas Chalet shingles, Louisiana Pacific siding, and polybutylene piping. There are other products out there. Definitely check in your area to see what construction materials were used, and your inspector, and always get an inspection. If you hire an inspector who is certified either with ASHI or some other company that certifies inspectors, will know to look for these materials and will know what's common in your area and what to look for. There's other products out there with lawsuits, but these are the three biggest ones we want you to be aware of. Thanks so much for tuning in, and don't forget to like and subscribe and give us a thumbs up. If you're interested in some more free information and you want our Buyer's Guide ebook, then please go ahead and leave a comment below or direct message us with your contact information, and we will send you that free ebook for buyers with a checklist to make sure that you're successful in 2024. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.